Hello. Good evening. Or wait, it's not evening. I'm
Little
gonna
early.
break that habit. I know I'm gonna break that habit eventually. It's good lunchtime. Well, there's evening for some people, so there's my path.
That's true. Yeah.
Nicole. Nicole's
Hello.
back. Yay, she's back. Well, she's always here, by the way. She's always
On
watching.
camera today.
Exactly. Nicole's always here. She's just usually in the background helping us make sure all the things work well and supporting you guys when you message and all that stuff. So if you have not met Nicole, Nicole is here with us. Welcome to Medical Billers Network Live. Welcome back, Nicole.
Thank
To the
you. Thank you.
on-screen view. I enjoy having Nicole live with me on here because she and I've got similar energy, and it's nice to have that exchange of energy. And it's always nice having another person on. You guys, it's weird talking to yourself in a room. It's weird. YouTube has made it fun and acceptable, but it's kind of weird.
To talk to yourself.
Yeah, like having a conversation with myself. I actually feel like it's even more weird when I'm talking to myself and there's other people in other rooms next to me. I'm like, I even pretend like they're not there. Like that makes me feel better. So, it's like when you're talking to yourself and other people are around, it's suspicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's confusing and suspicious. So, welcome, friends. Welcome back to Medical Billers Network Live. This is our Lunch and Learn time. We are here every Thursday. We've moved to Lunch and Learn, so we're 2 p.m. Eastern time. If it's the first time that you're here with us, hello. This is a space where my folks who are in the medical billing community or around the medical billing community come together to exchange knowledge, information, expertise, and find community because it can be lonely out there, especially those of us who work from home or in office cubicles that are far from other friends. I know that that's a thing, right? Some of us are back in the office, but not everybody else is there and or not around you. So it can be lonely. I spent most of my morning doing some billing work and being in meetings and all of that. And there was no one in the office with me today. So it's kind of lonely. So I'm feeling this moment of like pause with other humans around. So thank you for being good company, Nicole.
You,
And
you didn't get enough of me yesterday?
exactly. No, never. It's always nice having other people here. I'm lonely by myself. Hi, Christy. What's up? Good to see you. Hello. When you guys get here, say hello. Join us. No, don't join us in the comments.
Join us.
Join us in the comments. No, join us in the comments. No, tell us in the comments where you're joining from and what is your least favorite interview question is your question of the day. So answer the question of the day after you say hello and tell us where you're dialing in from. And did I miss anything with that hello intro?
No, I think that's about it. I am curious, though, what your least favorite interview question is. You have to think back to when you did interviews.
Yeah, that's literally what I was thinking. Like, is I kind of think back. The open-ended question of, so tell me a little bit about yourself.
Oh, I have a treat for you on the slides then.
Hate that question. I'm like, where do I begin? Well, here's, especially when you've got a lot of parts to you, right? We all have a lot of parts to us. And so it's like, which label do I want to tell you about right now? Which label? Yeah. So Megana, hello from India. Great to see you. Thank you for being here and hanging out with us. So, hello, Gastonia. Samba, you're like really close to me.
Right?
Hi. Yeah, I love that. Let's see. Arlene, hello. Anyone want to share their least favorite interview question? Anyone?
I have a feeling tell me about yourself is probably one of the big least favorites.
So Nicole, what's your least favorite?
So that was going to be my answer, but now I have to be more creative. So if it's not tell me a little about yourself, because that's just way too vague for me. I also really dislike being asked about your strengths and weaknesses because I feel like it's way too easy for them to be like, oh, well, you're just too full of yourself or you're not confident enough. And there's no good way to be like, well, this is why I suck. And I know everyone's advice is like, well, you need to play it off in a good way, but that's how you get like, oh, I'm just too much of a perfectionist, I just love work too much. And No one likes those answers either. It's just a bad question. It makes everyone uncomfortable. I don't think you should ask it.
Yeah, strengths and weakness question is a bad question. That's real. That's real. And like you said, most of us don't really know how to eloquently say what this is my weakness without it coming off snobby. So hi, Trudy. Welcome from Charlotte. Hello.
Ooh.
I love it. We've got folks, we got local folks in the house today. Nichole. I love it. Yeah, we are also in the CLT, the Queen City. So yeah. Yep. Exactly. What are your weaknesses?
Bad question.
Good guess. Good guess there. Hello. Hey, Kimberly. Hello, hello. All right, my friends, I'm going to do my quick roundup and announcements before we get started. And if you are just joining, the question of the day is, what's your least favorite interview question? And let us know where you're dialing in from. And I'm going to get this thing up on the stage for us. So this week we are talking about how to get hired in 2023. Not to say that it's going to be very different in 2024. It's probably going to be very similar, very, very familiar, especially for my folks who are in healthcare. So if you're watching this at a later date, I'm sure the information is quite relevant for you. This is kind of a second discussion, a second touch on a discussion that we had. Nichole and I were just giggling because I was ironically wearing the exact same shirt in that discussion 2 months ago. So I'm on clearly have a seasonal wardrobe that exists every 8 weeks. So we should just continue to look for the orange shirt if you want to know about hiring. All right. So apparently this is my getting hired or job finding shirt. So yes, go back and check out part 1. It was in July, actually. July, I think I saw the 20th. So yeah. Last conversation, we had a 2-part conversation around medical billing mastery. So that was last week. We had 2 lives last week on Tuesday and Thursday, so we could get through that content or that question a little bit quickly for you guys. And we'll do that as often as we can. We do have a little bit of a switcheroo happening in October for that Tuesday, which is going to speak specifically to my billing company owners. And so keep an eye out for those announcements. If you are not at all of the places and all of the spaces, you'll want to join us. And subscribing here on YouTube is going to be a really great way to stay connected. That notification bell lets you know when we go live and post new things. So Nichole is a master at getting all of the dates and the future kind of save the dates out there. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for those community posts as well. If you hit the notification bell, YouTube does a phenomenal job at keeping you plugged in when we post. So if you're not already subscribed, do so and ring that notification bell and invite your friends if you have friends in healthcare or not in healthcare that are interested in joining us on this side of the world of in the business of healthcare. Then invite them along, because this is a great space for people who are new and experts alike, because the whole idea is that we get to really share in our knowledge. So people that are new can feel supported, and those of us who've been around for a while can kind of be like cool mentors and also work with people who know a lot more about healthcare that maybe can be good brainstorming with us. So, hey, Kimberly, great to see you. Great to see you. You're in Columbia too. Oh, look at this. I love it. Oh my goodness.
All the locals today.
I was going to say, here we go. Now we're going to have like a local meetup or something. Like, that'll be fun. So keep inviting our local healthcare people, because maybe that's the next thing. Maybe we'll have like a Carolinas meetup. So, all right, Arlene, Uniondale, New York. I know where Uniondale is. I have some family. I have family there too, but I also have family that are in downstate New York. So, and then I have some friends that are from like way further upstate, closer to you. So let me see. And Nichole is sharing there. Here's where you can get more of what we do here on Inlera University. That link is right. We get that question a lot. There's supposed to be 2 eyes. 2 eyes. So hi, I want to be natural. Great to see you again. All right, my friends. So we are also a billing company. So Inlera itself has kind of 2 parts to it. We do billing consulting, so things related to medical billing, revenue cycle, consulting, all things that you would expect that we do as medical billers. And then we also have education. So Inlera University, this channel here on YouTube is a branch of that. So we have obviously courses and content here that's free. We also have an older podcast that is coming back, or a version of it is coming back. We have community content, and by way of our Facebook groups and other things that take place in there as well. So if you are not a part of the Facebook group or the I lost my train of thought. So we're going to just say the Facebook group, and you're not already in the Facebook group and you haven't joined us on any of our medical billers meetups, you're going to want to join so that you can be updated, because we have a meetup coming up here in October. Nichole popped in the chats earlier, and oh, fun. So Nichole, tell me a little about yourself. We put our favorite question up.
I know. I didn't even like doing it. I was typing it like, ugh, it's awful.
Even seeing the words on the screen makes you cringe a little bit, right? Yeah. Here's the deal: is us as interviewers. Okay, let's make this little disclaimer. Nichole speaks from a lot of great experience as an interviewee and applicant, someone who is job searching. I have a lot of experience in the hiring. I also am quite averse to following tradition in all things. It's just kind of how I am. And so I don't really love to follow the script of interviews. I really like to get to know people and understand a little bit more about them as individuals. Now, that does mean a lot of open-ended questions, which can be very hard for people who are shy to talk about themselves. Would you agree, Nichole?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, yeah, no.
It's such a thin line to try to skirt between being like too pushy, but also wanting to be like, polite but actually speak up enough.
Right.
That was my least favorite part of interviews. Like, I don't know you, so I don't know how to present myself without being like, I would like this job. I would like to pay rent. I need food. That's another bad question. Why are you interested in this job? Because the real answer is, I need money. And the fake answer is, well, I Googled you 5 minutes ago, so here's some buzzwords from the homepage.
Exactly. The perfectly curated answer is, yeah, your company is so spectacular. I really enjoy how you X, Y, and Z, right?
I love the way you pay your employees. Honestly, I find it so inspiring.
I like how you direct deposit. It's quite a gift, and yeah, it's very real, right? You want to be human, but you also want to respect my challenge, and this is speaking from both sides, really, is like, if you ask me an open-ended question and I'm applying for a job, I don't like to overshare, and I also don't want to undershare, but mostly I don't like to overshare because I'm quite an open book, and sometimes I can overshare. And so there's that. I think that that's always fun when you're trying to stay on the lines of obviously being very professional, but also feeling like you're allowing someone in, right? Because most of us create this mask that's like the perfect picture of what somebody wants to see in the interview. And as someone who is interviewing, we get glimpses of real you. And some people are really good at like hiding the real version of themselves. And so when you get those glimpses and it's like, wow, so different than what you just presented to me, it's a little nerve-wracking and a little bit, you want someone who it a little bit makes you pause as someone who's as a hiring manager, right? You're like, how much of a difference is it going to be having you work for me versus what I'm getting today? That's the real. Sometimes people like they keep those masks on, and you can, kind of, this is job you, this is personal life you, always separate. And then there are other people like day one on the job, like mask is off, and they're like, and here we are as hiring managers, like, oh crap,
it was me the whole time.
Exactly. Like, oh my God, who did I hire? So I love it. All right, let me see here. Do you hire someone from the Philippines? So that's an interesting question. I have friends that have hired from the Philippines. We worked for a little while with a group in the Philippines when we were doing insurance verifications. We don't hire direct to the Philippines. We don't hire direct internationally. We would contract with a company that has understanding and levels of security and all those extra things. So I hope that answers the question. So All right. Okay. All right, my friends, here we go. So we're going to run through a list of our suggestions on how to get hired. We want to know, because we know that there's some of you who have like mastered this and you've never had trouble finding a job. And what are the things that you know help you along the way? And what are the things that you would disagree with in our list, right? If you're like, that's not real, or that doesn't help, or from all sides of the relationship, whether as an applicant or someone who's a hiring manager, would you agree or disagree with some things that we say? So feel free to share all of that in the comments. And yeah, we're going to dive into our list here. So my first little point here is really being clear, right? Being clear about what you desire. Now, a lot of us who are going into healthcare, especially when you worked hard for a particular title, or a certification, you're like, okay, I am now a certified professional biller. I need a job as a certified professional biller, right? That's great. That's fine. You're going to obviously look for the job that relates to the thing that you just got training in. But what else is there? Most of us stop there, right? Nichole, we're like, I just want the job. Like, what else do you need? Because there's some of us that know for sure, like, I need to work from home because I have obligations outside of this, or I need to have this type of schedule where I work from 6 to 2 or something at 6 a.m., hopefully not 6 p.m. till 2 a.m. It could be a thing, right?
Awful.
You might, yeah, exactly. You could be looking at like a night owl thing or graveyard shift, but yeah, like being clear about really what type of hours you need, what type of salary you need. But here's one that's really, really important from my perspective is what kind of leadership do you need? Like, Nichole, have you ever been in that job where you were like, oh, this is going to be so great. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. I got the exact job I needed. And then you turned around and your boss is like Micromanager USA. And you're like, I don't think I can work under someone like this.
Yeah, we've addressed before that I do not have real healthcare experience, but I did work for a vet and I loved it. I'd done like camps and stuff. I knew that I really liked working with animals, and all that. And I had a boss who would check the cameras. She was the owner. She would check the cameras from home and call in to yell at you if she didn't like what you were doing on her days off. Like, oh yeah.
Oh my God.
So if you wanted to know what micromanagement looks like, if you feel like you have to check on your employees from home and yell at them, you might be a micromanager. Just maybe. You might want to look at that.
Come up with a list of questions like, if this is your scenario, you might be a micromanager. Wow.
Like, yeah, I mean, and I worked like retail and stuff with people who are usually, retail doesn't usually have great bosses, of people who tend to like sit in the office and they're like going through the cameras and stuff. Sure, but I've never had someone call from home before. That was a new experience.
Right. Like, she's always watching.
Dude, there was one corner that the cameras couldn't see, and that's exactly where you would just stand and like breathe.
Yeah, like she's not going to judge this moment if I'm in this corner. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff, like if you know that you've worked under someone that's that much of a micromanager, I mean, that's like, I don't know, I would just take my anxiety to the next level, right? Like I just would not be able to function with somebody looming over my shoulder. I did have an experience with a micromanager. This is a long time ago. Those of you who don't know, if you're new here, I have had my own business for 19, going on 20 years. So it's been a while. And I have worked for other people. Obviously I have. And I would think that, depending on the relationship that you have, even like as a contractor or as a vendor, sometimes we feel like we work more for those people than we did for a job. However, in that particular job, like I had two bosses and they both owned the practice and they treated it like that. Like neither one of them wanted to be the managing provider. It was like, there's supposed to be one boss, right? No. They were both like always butting heads too. Like you wanted to maybe feel like, oh, well, this person, this particular manager is easier to work with, or I can have a great working relationship with them and the other one maybe not so much. And okay, I'll just lean on this one. However, whenever this one felt like you weren't respecting them as the boss, it was like, wait, like, you're being pulled, like, okay, but this person said, but I don't care what they said. This is what I like. So you're like, I was like pulled between two worlds, and that's exhausting. So knowing that you have one manager, I think is always helpful, or one person that is, your direct report is always helpful, that clarity. But then also knowing that the nature or the type of person that you can work well with, and being so honest about that in the interview. Like, I'm not saying that, you want to tell them that the way that they need to do their job, right? That's not what you're asking, but it's more like, I work really well when, finish the sentence, right? Not saying like, when when the boss does this and this and this, then I can do my job. No. I work really well when I am given a very clear set of responsibilities, when I am provided with the tools, but also given the freedom to use my own approach, right? Because someone who's a micromanager doesn't know how to do that.
Yeah, before I ended up working with Jasmine, I had a lot of interviews and a ton of applications, trust me. So I'm very well qualified as the applicant speaking person. But one of the best questions I got asked in an interview, a couple of them would ask like what my ideal manager was. And at the time, pre-Jasmine, I thought I had a really great boss. I think Jasmine's my best boss so far. And I'm not just saying that because she's right here. But before that, I had one really awesome manager in retail. And I would just talk about, he was really good at explaining things on like how you should do them, but he would give you space to do it and let you like learn hands-on. Like it was a really good mix between I will provide you instruction, but I want you to be able to actually experience it. And I would just like watch people's faces turn, and it's like, I don't think I want to work with you based on your reaction to that answer. Like he was just a normal dude. Why is this upsetting you?
Yeah. There are some people who don't like, there are people, and I respect all human types. There are some people who need very, very clear, I need to know how to do exactly this job step by step. Like I never want to use my own logic. I need to exactly know how to do everything at every moment of the day. And that could work really well if you have someone who is a micromanager who is going to give you, like, I love to offer, like my billers, right? I love to offer like, here is an ideal workflow or a recommended workflow, like based on what your title is, right? So like if you are a biller with us, like you're getting this, okay, here are your responsibilities. Here's a recommended workflow of what we think that a biller would be successful following. However, my expectation is always that you're going to take that and you're going to run with it. It's always my hope and expectation is always that you're going to take that and make it better, not like make it worse, but you're going to own it so much so that it may not even look like that workflow, but it's yours and you're kicking butt at it. And that's the goal. Like not like, here, you need to follow step by step and, oh, it's exactly 1:15. This is what you should be doing at this time. Like not going to do that.
So to bring it back full circle and get us off the micromanagement train, when you're making your lists of like what you want and what you need, your type of schedule, your type of leadership, you should be honest of like, I really want you to set the pace of your expectations. And then I'm more than happy to kind of expand upon it. Or if you're somebody who doesn't like to feel boxed in by, I expect you to be doing this and then this in this exact order, it might be a good idea to address that of, I have a way that I like to do my order of operations. Do you have a more flexible kind of routine? I'm sure Jasmine has better words than I do. I don't do the management stuff, but
yeah, no, that was perfect. That was perfectly stated. I mean, I think that, it's from both sides. You're going to get people who are going to be uncomfortable with it, and that's just a sign that it's not a good match, right? Like, I think that, you speak it into existence, and being clear about like your own preferences and it can absolutely be based on traumas from past experiences. Unfortunately, it's what happens, but we learn from those things, right? Like, just like, okay, that was really stressful. I never wanted to have a job like that again. Like,
you have to learn somehow, and sometimes you have to learn the hard way, and that's just how it is.
yeah, we talked about that, I think, last time about like customer service. Like, you might have learned that like you don't like customer service by doing that job.
And I know we said it last time too, but it's still worth being said again. Like, you're interviewing for a job, but you are also interviewing them as well. Like, if they aren't meeting your standards of like, well, they expect you to be on call constantly, or like, oh, well, we kind of expect people to pitch in when necessary and like work crazy hours. Like, if that's not what you want, if you want a more balanced work life or whatever, it's probably not a good fit, and you're not going to be happy even if they pay more than you were looking for. If it's not worth it, it's not worth it.
Oh yeah, it's so true. I've been random aside. I've been watching like Suits is kind of like my brain candy on occasion right now. It's a show on Netflix, and they it's like the attorneys work around the clock. Like, you're looked down upon if you leave before like the managing partner who leaves at like 9 at night or something. They're there like absurd hours. So you have to be clear. Like, I mean, there are people who will always say, oh, when, you go above and beyond, whatever, like that's the thing. That's different than saying that you're going to commit to a 14-hour workday if, you know that you have this desire to have a work-life balance, right? There are people like there's those of us who have done that. I for sure have done. I'm like, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to do whatever is necessary to do the thing that, to be able to meet the goal, right? And it could be with client work. It could be with, a job itself, right? However, if you know that you're in that season of life where like family, kids are so important to you, and, being like a loving and present wife or husband is really important to you, like, then you need to absolutely feel like that sense of like, all right, the boundary is X number of hours, or this time, so that I can get my kids from school, or I can make dinner for my family, or whatever, So be clear. You want to go to the next point?
Sure. So next is give yourself a deadline. So kind of telling yourself that you will find a job by X date. Of course, things happen. I graduated right with pandemic stuff, so my timeline for getting a job got thrown straight out the window for sure.
Sounded great.
And my fields that I was looking at suddenly weren't in the state they were when I picked my major. So you should definitely be kind to yourself, and that sometimes things happen, natural disasters, like way out of your hands.
Oh, yeah.
But you should still try to have like, if maybe get a job by X date isn't the hard line that's going to work for you in these uncertain times, as it were. What I was doing at the time during all the pandemonium nonsense was I'm going to try to have X interviews a week if I can, or I'm going to at least submit Y number of applications, because those were things that I could at least control. But if you are in a slightly more stable field, or maybe have better connections, because I was a new grad, so I was just trying to get in on the ground floor there. If you already maybe have connections and you're trying to work through things, having sort of metrics to stand by can help you have something to judge yourself on, because it feels really hopeless. But if you know that like, I am trying, I am doing 20 plus applications a day, I am getting callbacks for 2 interviews a week, it's not necessarily me, it can definitely help. And if you can get that job by X date, it gives that pressure that like, it's the difference between there's a project due eventually and there's a project due in 3 months. You can map out your progress for 3 months. You can't for eternity.
Precisely. That's where like that the target date is, pandemic aside, is a great goal to say, okay, I'm working towards this, so that you know what actions you need to take to get there, right? If you're like saying in 3 months, this is when I might hope to have this position or this type of position, I know that I need to do these number of interviews or submit these number of applications. There's so many people who I know are looking for a job, and they're like, oh, I've applied everywhere. Like, how many applications, how many, resumes did you submit or applications did you send out this week? Like, oh, like 10, like 10 whole. Like, okay. we're probably going to need to send a few more if you expect to find that job. Like, especially if that's been the number, you're just kind of like willy-nilly just doing it like in the middle of the night because you really, are just sitting around and like, God, I really want to switch jobs. Like it's not clear that you're just kind of throwing it at the wind, not really doing the best that you can to find that position.
Yeah, post my wonderful vet experience that we were just talking about, I basically made it my new job to get a job. So while my partner was clocking in and actually, paying our rent, I was, sitting down at the computer and I was pulling up my cover letters and drafting them out for obviously our main audience here is medical billers, people in healthcare, people in that side of things. If you are fresh into it, this advice will be more applicable to you. But I basically had kind of 3 different industries I was kind of looking at. So I had the industry A, industry B, industry C. That was a tongue twister that I didn't intend. Cover letters that I would sort of adapt to the different places I was applying to, of like, okay, well, they mentioned these things in their descriptions. Let me switch those around. Let me tweak the way that I'm describing this just to kind of not go insane and write them from scratch. If you're doing 20 plus applications a day and doing them all from scratch, I commend you, but you may want to think about doing this a little bit easier and save a little bit of sanity.
Yeah, I love, Nichole, that you said something so perfectly. Like, if we could just, I think that is probably the name of this discussion. It's like, make it your job to find a job. Like that is, it's real. And then like when you're doing that, right? If you're working in a position, you create your own process thing that makes you successful. And that's literally what Nichole's saying. Like, what would equate to success if I actually have a process for the different industries and I like know that I'm, potentially going to apply for these 3 different types of positions, and knowing that you kind of already have that cover letter mapped out, you have maybe the resume rewritten to that language with, all of the kind of buzzwords that attach to that industry or that position, or that hiring manager might be more kind of attracted to, right? Those are all things that you would basically move you up into a different like level, because you have an approach and you're going to be able to execute a lot more. A lot of people, reason why they don't apply for more is because every single time they sit at an application, it's like a clean slate and it's exhausting. like you literally just wrote these words in like 3 applications yesterday. Like, why didn't you save those somewhere so that you could copy paste them, reword, make little tweaks and changes? If you're having to create, like, there's a lot of places that have you complete an application in addition to uploading a resume. And so you do need to know how to write, explaining, perhaps answering some of the questions that we've talked about today, actually write complete sentences that make sense, right? These are things that you're probably going to just like, after the first couple, you'll take those answers that you gave, plug them into Grammarly or something. If you guys don't know what Grammarly is, you should know what Grammarly is, but check to make sure that it actually makes sense. Grammarly does a great job that it tells you like the general feel of your, what do you call it?
It'll give you like tone indicators. So I have Grammarly has little plugins that you can put on Google if you are also like only a Google Chrome user like I am. So Google Chrome pops up on everything that I type, even if it's not a Google Doc. If it's not in a search bar, I pretty much have a little toggle that pops up and it'll tell you, I don't pay for it because I'm cheap, but Jasmine might, because she's the boss. She writes more expensive things. But for the free one, it'll tell you some basic things. Like, I apparently have a word misspelled in my notes right now. So it'll underline it in red and have you fix it. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, you forgot the word the or and. But it'll also give you a little image of, hey, your tone is casual. Is this what you intended? And if you're trying to come off a little more formal in your cover letter or resume or your application, you might want to tweak some words, come off a little bit more professional, more confident.
Yeah, I love it. And that's literally, a tone indicator makes that makes so much sense. That's the name of that. Literally, I'm looking at it, it's like a handshake, and there's like an indicator, which means that like it's friendly or like whatever. That's talking about my notes, by the way, which I guess my notes are friendly. So
we might have to do a separate video on maybe like the tools you need to get hired or something, but I do recommend Grammarly, because with the account it'll send you like a weekly kind of wrap up, and it will tell you like, oh well, you were more friendly than usual, so maybe if you were like more casual in the last week, you're like, maybe I need to look at those applications and like not do whatever I did there. You're right. They're like, you're kind of rude. Work on that.
That's interesting. I don't think I've ever gotten, maybe I do get the weekly wrap, but I've never, like, it might go into my junk mail or whatever. Not my junk, but, the promotional thing. I'll have to look for that. That's fun. All right, let's go through our next couple as quickly as we can. I'm realizing the time. Again, now it's us. I hope that you guys are finding this valuable. I love Nicole's insights, and like she always drops these gems. And like, I didn't think about that. Like, and the Grammarly thing, that wasn't even in my notes. That just kind of like popped in my head right then.
Well, it's almost relevant to the next point, which is using technology to your advantage.
There we go. So that was me being, intentional and creating a segue. Not, but yeah. Well, the next point is pretty straightforward, because I know we talked a lot about this during last conversation, but really just making sure that you have a very clear and up-to-date profile on all the places that you need to have the profile. So if you know that you're a person who finds jobs typically on LinkedIn or on Indeed, and apparently Google Jobs is a place that people go to now. I don't know. But make sure that if you have the ability to have a profile on those things, have one, and have one updated. So many people that apply for positions and even sometimes do it through LinkedIn don't have profile pictures. Like there is no excuse to not having a profile picture on a place that allows you to have a profile picture, because most of us, we open the door to people that we see first, right? When you can connect with someone humanly first, eyes, and you're like, oh, this person seems like, we immediately have this, it's just ingrained in us as humans. We have this affinity to know the person by seeing their eyes or seeing their face, right? And so even though your application could almost be identical to someone else's, but they see this person's LinkedIn profile, guarantee you, without even realizing it, they're reaching out to the person that has a profile picture first, because they see the eyes. It's a person. You're a human, which sounds silly, but it's real. So make sure that if you have the ability to have the picture, don't forget to update the profile. Another technology thing, which we should absolutely do a video about this, or just at least some sort of discussion on this, is AI is so easy. If you do not know how to write a bio for yourself, you're like, I don't know how to talk about myself in a summary, like, I forget what they call that on your page, but something like that in like your summary or bio on your LinkedIn profile, then you need to just go to an AI tool. There's a lot of them out there. I do Chat GDP or whatever it's called, right? GDP, I think GDP. GPT, yeah, I don't know. GPT. I always mess up the letters. Chat GPT is the one that I use. And it's, I'm going to get it right one day. Because it's easy, right? All you're doing is typing in there, like, this is about myself, my name is, help me write a bio about myself. I am looking for a position in this industry. These are my qualities. These are my strengths. Like, literally you can kind of data dump, and it puts it together. Please do not just take that and post it. Like, change it, make sure that you edit and like weave in all your real stuff, because there might be things in there there might be words that you like would never use, like in the a section of the dictionary that just nobody goes to. Like, don't do that.
And AI, as great as it can be, especially like ChatGPT and that sort of thing, they don't know facts. So they might say that, like, if you're trying to be a medical biller, and there was a comment on last video, so I'm just gonna borrow some of their qualifications, because they had a comment I was gonna see if I could bring up, but we're running out of time. But you've got this like bachelor's and master's, and you have this IT experience and blah 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 blah, and they'll hook onto the word coder, and they'll just start making up stuff, and it might not be real true information or relevant to actual medical coding, because the computer got confused, and suddenly you have a bio about how you're like a Microsoft expert, blah 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 blah, and if you didn't check it, you probably are missing out on interviews you'd actually be qualified for, because they're like, did they get confused? This isn't tech.
That is so real. And especially in the coder that conversation, you guys don't know how many times that people reach out and we get confused with like coding for technology, not like medical coding. So it's really important to edit and review the profile or the bio that it might be suggesting for you, and make sure it's yours. Like if it's not words that you would never use, like delete it. Like you don't need, just because it wrote it and you're like, I think that sounds right. Like if it sounds like Greek to you, it's probably going to sound like Greek to someone else, you know. And if you speak Greek, then ignore what I just said. So, all right. So networking is our next point here. Make sure that you are out there networking. We've talked a lot about Medical Builders Meetup. You need to be in the meetup. You need to be willing to talk about yourself. You need to be willing to ask people for introductions, referrals, if you've given them enough information. Don't be like, yeah, my name is so-and-so. Does your job hiring? Like that is not, you need to establish relationships. Okay. Like when we say networking, it doesn't mean just like go out and like, you know, ask people for things, but you're really getting out there. You're giving, you're asking about them. You're trying to get to know them. There is this beautiful exchange in the networking environment that you're trying to understand them so that you can figure out how you could potentially help them. And then the idea is that the same is to take place. Now, if you go out there and you're right away, you're just for the ask, you're just like, hey, my name's so-and-so, and what can you do for me? Like people don't like that. It doesn't matter who you are. We actually, we ask that you don't do that in the group as much. Like we want you guys to network and be supportive of each other, but we don't want you just going out there and saying, hey, this is what I need. Now we did have a solution to that.
I was going to say, if we can tip our hand a little bit, maybe if you keep an eye out for next month and you know, agree to all the rules and you join the group and you do everything right, we may have a little bit of a gift for those of you who are impatient like myself and maybe a little bit not patient enough to form real relationships. Maybe a little bit of like a speed dating networking idea that we might have coming up in the next month. So join the group if you are also impatient like Nichole and don't want to go out in the real world and try to make friends so you can just have a job. If that sounds awful to you, I have a special gift for everyone like me in the group.
Yeah, Nichole is great for these ideas, you guys, because she's always like thinking outside the box. So like, what if they don't like to do that? Like, well,
making friends is hard, and sometimes your friends are not in the right industry. So here we are.
Yeah, you're like, I really don't want to work for like a marijuana producer or something. Like my little brother is like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, that's great. He's not going to be able to introduce me to anything that would be of value. I know nothing about that industry. So. All right, here we go. So the last couple of tips here kind of go hand in hand. So when we talked last time about making sure you guys have training. If you don't have training, obviously Inlera University is where you should go. And you can hang out here with us and learn all that you need to learn to get yourself ready. Now, the other thing to know is that there are a lot of places and people out there that are looking for help from folks that are perhaps just breaking in and willing to go for a very low reimbursement type internship or a unpaid internship, right? And that gets your foot in the door. It gets you an opportunity to have a relationship with that company, maybe be hired on. Now, I know that it's not always in the wheelhouse of possibilities for most of us to just be like working for free, volunteering, you know, all of that. So you might consider doing something like creating a little bit of a side hustle-y type thing. So doing something, putting a profile on something like Upwork or even Fiverr that might put you out there as someone who is available. Let's say you know that you're great and you have the ability to do something like payment posting. That might be a really great opportunity for you, just putting your profile out there that you are open for gigs or you know, side hustles, opportunities to do these types of positions. And it also could give you the flexibility and the freedom to do it while you're still working somewhere else, right? So you when you're working for these companies, there are a lot, like my mother actually did this. I can't remember if it was Upwork. She was doing kind of like a project management style side help on Fiverr or Upwork, one of those things. And she ended up working as a contractor for Marriott, and then eventually got hired on directly from Marriott as well. And that, again, because she was that contractor, they went to her for some projects here and there, and it worked through a particular like program before, and then got hired on. We did that with our previous like video editor. I found him, I think, on Fiverr or one of them, and found out like, hey, like he actually does this side hustle thing. He has a whole other thing that I could go directly through him and just pay him for this job, so we had a relationship that was established separate from that tool, right? So, keep in mind that like, just because you are opening yourself up for this subcontractor work for X number of hours, like this could be the path for you to move into full-time. So had you ever tried anything like that, Nichole? Was that ever in there?
No, I hadn't. I was starting to look at stuff like that. I was looking into, I write a lot in my free time. Obviously, I write all the social media posts, so you all read a lot of my writing. But I was looking into stuff of like maybe, I can't think of the word now, but basically like freelance editing and stuff, just a way to...
Maybe? You could be a good ghostwriter. I mean, you're pretty much a ghostwriter.
A little bit, but yeah, I was looking at a bunch of options like that. Of there were websites that were offering like, if you get approved and if you blah 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 meet their standards, you can like basically do proofreading for this company, this person, anyone who uses the software or whatever, and it's kind of contract work that way. So it doesn't even necessarily have to be relevant to billing or healthcare or whatever it is that your main thing is. You can also find like, maybe if you're just a really awesome organizer. My mom worked at the hospital as what was she, a CRNA, and she worked through like the ER. She did all sorts of fun stuff. Yeah. But she got like a very brief part-time gig planning and organizing doctors' vacations, because she was just talking to like nurse friends and stuff about our trip to Disney, and it spread like wildfire through the whole hospital. So she ended up getting like, she planned a handful, like, I mean, it was at her discretion if she had the time, but yeah, people were like seeking her out from the departments of like, are you the lady who does the vacations? And she's like, I have a name and a real job, but yes. And she got like minorly famous at the hospital for her vacation planning. So if you have a weird like interest or hobby of like, you're really good at organizing stuff or like planning things or whatever, you might be able to find people who will pay for that.
It's so real. It's so real. I just was talking to a friend, actually, a similar kind of discussion around like thinking outside of the box of like something that you already enjoy doing. Like if you're someone who likes to do the planning or likes to do the organizing, like, people's bill pay or like organizing people's closets, which is, I have a friend that does that for like that's like a side thing, and then now it's like our main thing. It's really interesting, but like literally there are people out there that will pay for pretty much everything. Like, or just like, hey, I don't enjoy doing this, so I would rather pay someone to do it. I want it to be done, but I would rather pay someone to do it. So, thinking outside the box about what types of things that interest you, and going back to, again, that first point, like knowing exactly what you desire. Like, is it freedom, maybe like a certain number of hours, a certain quality of life based on what you might be doing outside of your desired profession, right? Like, let's say you're, family, or, family comes first and all the things, right? But maybe you're someone who really absolutely needs to be very present with your kids. Maybe you're like a homeschooling parent of 4, like that's a different person who's like, kids are graduated and off to college, right? Like you're in a totally different season. So your limitations are going to be different, and what you might be interested in as far as like working hours and time commitment. So thinking about that even when you're looking for these subcontract type relationships, because it could open you up where you're like, I have so many hours available outside of my normal gig, and I'd love to be available for planning doctor's vacations.
And
cool.
the other perk, if you can find a way to use your weird skill, talent, hobby while you're actually working, is she got some really great shift trades during those couple of months. So at the time, we were a little, obviously, because we were going to like Disney and stuff. And I think she managed to get off every major holiday. She was able to switch things around. Now, like you were saying, my youngest sibling is in college, so she takes holidays often. Like working for the people who do have little kids, and they're like, oh, I don't want to work Christmas Day, and my mom's like, all my kids are at their partners' houses, so
Yeah,
I'm free. I can take your shift, free money, I'll take
exactly.
it.
Yeah, we all like, get to that season where it's like it's fun and it's easy, and then other times we're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do it. Instead, I want to go on a 9-month cruise around the world or something, right? Or like,
Ooh, I like that. Less work, more cruises.
Yeah, more cruise life. So I love it. All right, my friends. So listen, we're going to get ready to wrap up here. I would love to answer any of the comments or questions that you guys have. I see a couple of them out here, but if there are any things that come to mind in the replay or the recap of this, I forgot the word I was going to say, but I think it was replay. When you're rewatching this video or watching it later, feel free to pop it in the comments, because both Nichole and I, mostly Nichole, sees the comments, and we can absolutely answer them in the comments, or maybe do another follow-up video on this. So tell us what you think about this discussion. And we'd love to be able to kind of brainstorm with you or talk more ideas in the Facebook group. If you guys are already in the Facebook group, let us know what your thoughts were. Nichole, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think you wrapped it up really well. Yeah, I have some notes on potential future third part installments if you guys are interested in this, but otherwise, yes, definitely join the network, the Facebook group. There's lots of good discussions there, and I always recommend, sometimes we get really good comments, but they would be better answered by people actually in the group and not necessarily just me or Jasmine. So if you have maybe a slightly more general question or something that's very specific to medical billing, either end of the spectrum, feel free to make your own post and start your own discussion, because that's kind of the whole thing of the network, is letting you guys communicate and be your own community.
Yeah. Actually, on that note, two things actually. First thing is that Nichole created the ability for you guys to do chats in the group as well. So if there's a discussion that you think would be, a question that you think would be a good discussion, then absolutely pose that in a chat so that people can kind of chime in and add to it, and make sure that it's something that we believe is relevant to all, obviously. Other thing is that on Nichole's note for part 3, if you want part 3, vote part 3, let us know in the comments. Yes to part 3. We definitely should talk tools and technology, because I think that that's always helpful. But yes to part 3 is what you could put in the comments. And then if there's a specific topic you want us to go deeper on, this is obviously, we are kind of very broadly discussing hiring in these last couple of videos, but we'd love to speak very, very clear to, what your ask is or what your need is in the moment. So feel free to tell us, vote yes part 3, and then tell us whatever your suggestion is, or just say yes part 3. That's fine. We already have, I see Nichole's she just added into our shared chat here. So I love it. All right, my friends, well, with that said, so Nichole, thank you for hanging out with us again.
Thanks for having me.
And you guys all have a beautiful rest of the day. Hang on, I'm sorry.
Too soon.
It was just a comment. Is it a comment? Yeah. Okay. We'll put that up on the screen just so everybody sees that. So yes, revenue cycle is paramount. Reimbursement specifically is what you do. Yeah. It depends on revenue cycle that they're doing. So yeah, I love this. We've talked a lot about this, when it comes to people understanding the full revenue cycle. So important. So cost reporting. All right. Osama, you're asking the really big question, but yes. Cost reporting. I will make a note of cost reporting. We might have to have cost reporting folks, some experts come on. So hi, Want to Be Natural. Thanks for agreeing. All right, my friends, we're going to jump off.
I was just going to say, even if you don't want part 3 and you don't want to see more Nichole, if you have things like cost reporting that you want us to talk about, or Jasmine specifically on that,
Come on,
let us
Nichole.
know. Leave a comment.
Leave me high and dry on the cost reporting conversation.
They get enough of me during the trivia not knowing what I'm doing, I think. If you want to have more clueless Nichole, I guess that's an option too. If you want more Nichole, that's in the comments as well.
I feel like you would be able to intelligently answer any question related to cost reporting. It would be very entertaining.
Be great. Cost reporting trivia win.
How much could Nichole BS herself through this conversation on cost reporting?
I considered going into law. I'm pretty good at BSing, so
yeah,
that's potential. But yes, leave comments on what you want us to talk about, what you want to see, what you want to see less of. We're always checking on that. And maybe we'll be more brief next time, because we keep saying these will be 30 minutes and they keep being an hour, but we'll work on that.
We're working on it. We are a work in progress. We all are. All right, my friends. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us. Yes, thanks, Osama. You guys have a beautiful rest of the day, and we will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.